Hey everybody, it's your old pal Robert from ThrillRide.com. How you doing? So I'm back in downtown Los Angeles. I'm on Mission Road in a very quiet, very industrial part of town. Not someplace you'd go to find art normally, but there's an exhibit here. It's up through Labor Day. I think they just extended it, called A Forest for the Trees. And it's another one of these immersive art installations where you're surrounded in every direction by light and sound and movement. There's interactive elements to it. And this was put together by Atlantic magazine journalists, environmental scientists, all kinds of researchers, and Native American tribal leaders to allow us to find a way to reimagine our relationship with nature. And I'm all about this kind of movement of this, again, 360-degree art environments. So very excited to go check this out. So let's head inside. So the exhibit is being housed in a building that is part of a whole complex down here. And they have these sort of black warehouse buildings with this big asterisk on the side. And I love these kind of bridges in the distance. But yeah, this is not a neighborhood I would normally head to with any regularity. Yeah, so you can see, you really got to know where to go. There's very little visible indications that there's an art space back here, but sure enough, I'm gonna go check in. So it seems it's just a little bit of a timed entry. There's some things on loop, so they allow us in groups. So got a couple minutes to wait, then I'm heading in. This is neat. It looks like you have a little snack bar and a nice place to chill out down here. Yeah, very cozy. All right, so here it is, the opening space. And a little description of the show. A Forest for the Trees, inspired by the Atlantic's influential body of work in the natural world. A Forest for the Trees reimagines our relationship to nature through the lens of experiential, time-based art. Fantastic. Created and designed by the artist Glenn Kano in collaboration with the producer and the musician Dave Sitek. I say the sacred hoop of my people was one of the many hoops that made one circle, wide as daylight and as starlight. And in the center grew one mighty flowering tree to shelter all children. And sure enough, A Forest for the Trees is presented to you here in and adjacent to the ancestral lands of the Chumash, Tongva, and Kiz peoples. And it looks to be some kind of a little gift shop here on the other end of the space too. Oh, this is good to see. For every ticket purchased, a tree will be planted in partnership with MasterCard's Priceless Planet Coalition, an initiative aiming to restore 100 million trees by 2025. Fantastic. All of the redwoods used in A Forest for the Trees were sustainably salvaged from logging depots in California, where dead trees that had succumbed to drought or insect infestation were thinned to reduce fuel in areas of high fire risk. Awesome. Yeah, just looking up at the ceiling, it does seem to be a pretty vintage warehouse space, and there is some kind of a red light shining up on the ceiling from beyond this black curtain. A nice little hint of things to come. All right, we're heading into the story room.
All of this is a memory. This is a story about sacrifice, a story about a ceremony. It is a secret that you will learn about, but will not learn. The secret knowledge is only for those who have walked before. This is a story of magic. As the world begins to tilt back each year, in a time of ceremonial dance, a man from the Karo tribe leaps from a rock into a creek mouth near the base of Black Mountain. As he crashes into the water, the sound from the collision echoes like thunder and summons lightning to strike the nearby. This ceremony is thousands of years old has beckoned millions of salmon that are crucial to the health of the forest. The indigenous knowledge, practice, and belief systems represented here have been belittled, dismissed, and made mockery of for far too long. Miles away on this signal, the fire experts in the forest light their controlled burns. Their good fire is ignited as lightning would do when thunderclouds. This reduces the tree's use of water, increasing the surplus. The smoke also creates an inversion layer over the stream, cooling down the air and the water and slowing evaporation. This is a story of crisis. Despite the benefits of this ancient practice, controlled burning by Native Americans has been outlawed for over a century. Our planet is in peril. Now we are being summoned, like the salmon, to walk into the forest and follow those who have walked the path for thousands of years. Together, we are all the creators of a connected state of knowing and doing. You are about to enter a symbolic forest within which we can invent real systems of justice for our planet, together, for each other, and for the revitalization of the practices and principles employed by indigenous peoples for millennia. This is a forest for the fire, the water, the fish, the wildlife, the plants, and the people. This is a forest for the trees.
Nice.
So we just heard the story of a ceremony about good fire, and now we're going to experience a little ceremony of our own. So if I can have everyone within this sort of square of my vision, can I have everyone please look at the palm of your hands for me? Everyone look at the palm of your hands. Alright, you can see that they kind of look like tree roots, the little lines in your hands. And they're unique to every person, just like a tree's roots are unique to every tree. So just make sure you're looking at the center. Okay. And when you notice a sort of tunneling effect, I'm going to want a verbal confirmation about that.
Yep. Yeah.
You guys see it tunneling? Okay. And now I want you to look back at your palms. Oh, wow. So you notice? And if you look at each other's heads, they're moving really weird too. Alright. And now your roots are activated. So if you can put them on your heart for me. And on your head. We're going to step into our forest.
Amazing. It's great. It's just like that optical illusion on Main Street in Disneyland. I love that so much.
So you can hear me. It's a little hard to hear, sorry about that. Keep walking. So a lot of what you see here is going to be made of already fallen trees, including the floor we're walking on, the mulch, some of the trees around here, and the benches you'll see at the very end.
Okay, so that was kind of a brief walk-in, but now we are free to explore the space on our own. And I'm going to go back to the beginning and do just that. This is like so much more than I expected. This is just badass. It smells like the forest in here, and all these half-cut trees remind me a little bit of the Star Wars section at Disney MGM Studios. But my goodness, this is so beautiful. And again, very much immersive. Even the feeling of walking along the wooden floor, just fantastic. All right, here's a piece called The Well. So as our guide explained on the way in, there are these QR codes in front of the various exhibits. And you can scan them to learn a little bit more about what their story is. And of course, The Well is all about the stories under the swell. This is a forest of stories, a collage of voices and oral histories, and a collection of ideas and intentions. And it's also a story about learning to tell stories and learning how to listen. The well around this corner was inspired by some big questions. When we hear stories of trees bringing water from deep in the earth, we asked, how deep is deep? What does it mean to be that connected to the land? How can we engage in the stories that go against the current of history? This is a piece of law I was not familiar with. The 1911 Weeks Act established the National Forest Reservation Commission. It also outlawed ceremonial fire practices from native tribes and emboldened anti-native sentiment. So this quote that is pulled up here on top, the only sure way is to kill them off. Every time you catch one sneaking around in the brush like a coyote, take a shot at them. Really interesting, learning a lot about the history of fire prevention laws by suggesting that only you can prevent fires. Smokey made us all feel that it was our responsibility to fight not only fires, but anyone who would use fire in the forest for good. Wow. Smokey Bear was created in 1944 to continue the public campaign against all fire and to scare people into thinking that fire was entirely bad. It's amazing. Little didactic audio clips are presented through these rather fanciful kind of robot heads. That's interesting.
Doesn't love mangoes. You like mangoes? Hey, you listening? Mangoes grow on trees. So technically, all trees are money trees.
For weeks we sat and thought about the things that trees could tell us if they could talk. And for weeks we thought about what it would actually take for us to listen. And then we had the idea to create the human-tree interface, knowing that humans are so anthropocentric. So I get that word, anthropocentric, that we need things to look like us to believe them. So there you go. That's the explanation behind these kind of robot heads.
Oh yeah, I was telling you about what grows on trees. Cherimoyas? Yes, that's a tree. You never had a cherimoya? What do you mean you never had a cherimoya?
So this tree is named Methuselah, and this part of the exhibit is called Hidden Elders. What does urgency mean if you have already lived for thousands of years? How can we help protect our ancient knowledge? Great Basin bristlecone pines are some of the oldest living beings. This sculpture was created from our imagination of one of the oldest bristlecone pines, Methuselah, who is over 4,800 years old. We don't know exactly what the real Methuselah looks like because scientists who take care of it have hidden its location to tourists. So they can't find it because they know it will get killed. And they know this because this happened before. Amazing. The Chipko movement is the starting point for the term tree hugger, which has evolved to have an exaggerated and often derogatory meaning applying to environmentalists. But for us, tree huggers will always invoke the brave women who sacrificed their lives to protect their forests.
I've seen families of 100 generations fight and thrive through feast, famine, and disease. And I've seen them fight each other and thrive. And in this space, this forest of inspiration, there will be the seed of an idea so strong that it becomes ancient.
So this is a portrait of Bill Tripp, the director of the Department of Natural Resources for the Carrick tribe in Northern California. Bill is the co-author of the story of the jump dance that we heard in the first room, and author of our land use acknowledgement. Wow, he's also one of the foremost experts on the usage of controlled burns for forest management. So sure enough, this good fire display is meant to address this idea that somehow all fires are bad, has really gotten us to the point where we are today, where our forest fire situation is extremely dire, and that we need to go back to the natural practices of the Native Americans who knew how important and healthy fire was for the long-term health of the forests. And of course, the USDA Forest Service has now admitted that the long-standing policy of aggressive wildfire suppression has contributed to a decline in forest health, an increase in fuel loads in some forests, and wildfires that are more difficult and expensive to control. It's just hypnotic. love that they have this seating area back here for another kind of a show that takes place against this tree, and just scattered around for people to pick up and start reading are books on what looks like relevant topic matter. That is pretty neat. So the name of this amazing sculptural piece here at the back, well, I even hesitate to call it sculptural, but it's called Resurrection. And the theme is hope, that things that have been damaged can be healed. And this tree is an amazing example of that. This kind of lattice work of metal cubes surrounding the tree are symbolic of the building blocks we have in our hands. We have the tools we need to course correct what we're doing with our forests.
We all want to believe that things can be healed. We just don't always see a way for it to be possible. But in this forest of ideas, anything is possible. We are going to resurrect a tree and create a new metaphoric tree of life. One day we were walking through a yard of reclaimed dead trees, and the owner pointed to a pile and said, "If you have any ideas for this tree, I've been saving it for something important." And what he had been saving was the remnants of the 144-year-old Olvera Street fig, the most historic tree in Los Angeles. A tree that's seen generations of Angelinos grow up, get married, have children, eat taquitos, and sit and chat with friends and family. The Olvera Street fig has watched over all of us and given us all cover.
Gather branches in the rain, line 'em up and lay below. This all started as a game. Now it's the only thing I know. I'm seeking I'm seeking I'm seeking I'm seeking
All right, I think that is going to bring this one to a close. So, as always, thank you so much for coming along, and I really hope you enjoyed this look at this amazing art exhibit. Again, it's called A Forest for the Trees. It's showing in LA through Labor Day. It was going to end mid-July, but they've extended it. And I'm certainly hopeful that it's going to be traveling to other cities around the country. And I can only urge you to take the opportunity if it presents itself. Really, really cool. Learned a lot about forestry history I had no idea of. And I'm a little choked up. It's I know I'm kind of a weepy guy, but yeah, that resurrection show. Anyway, take care, and we will catch you in the next one.